Hi, it's Michael here from Custom Bike Fit, and today I'm doing a review on the BMC Timemachine 021. Now, I've done a few reviews on other bikes in the past 2 or 3 weeks, and those bikes being the Trek Speed Concept, the Felt IA, and the Quintana Roo. The BMC differs from those 3 bikes in that those 3 bikes are pure triathlon bikes. The BMC Timemachine is a UCI legal time trial bike. Can be used for triathlon, can be used for UCI legal time trials. So if you are looking to do some time trials, pure time trials, you're a member of a cycling club, you want to do the local club races, maybe you want to do state and national championships, this is certainly a bike that you should consider because it's UCI legal. The 3 bikes that I've reviewed up to now aren't, they're just triathlon bikes, and the major difference is in the fork. The BMC has a UCI compliant fork, and the other 3 that I've reviewed so far don't. The BMC, yes, I am a fan of the bike for triathlon. It ticks a few boxes. As you know, I like behind the seat storage, and the BMC does have that feature. There is a bit of a gotcha with that storage box, and I'm going to get to that towards the end of the review. The other thing I like for long course triathlon is storage on the top tube, and there are a couple of lugs on the top tube of the BMC to put a storage or bento box. The problem is, whereas with most bikes you'd have that located at the front of the top tube near the stem, with the BMC the lugs are towards the back of the top tube. It's just a strange position to put that top tube storage in, but you can put one on, so that's a good thing. BMC have done what they do well. They've concentrated on the frame. They really designed the frame, and then what they've done is they've put on a Physic saddle. The saddle that comes standard with this bike is the Physic Aero Tri 2. I personally am not a fan of that saddle. It's got a closed in front, and I tend to find people get soft tissue pressure when they rotate forward on that kind of saddle. So if you are buying this bike, I would factor in the cost of another saddle. Just budget maybe up to $300 for another saddle. The seat post, there's a lot of adjustability on the seat post. There's a clamping system that moves back and forth, and then of course you can move the saddle on the rail as well. So a lot of adjustability there, that's a big tick. And if we move to the front of the bike, BMC have done what a lot of manufacturers do, and they've outsourced the Aero Bars to Profile Design. So here we have, it's a Wing T2 alloy base bar. So we've got an independent stem, which is great because we can change that stem to any length and any angle we desire. The other thing is that you generally have a bit of steerer tube here that you can put some spaces underneath the base bar if you wanted to. For example, if you're living in an area where you're riding in a lot of traffic, you often want to have the base bar a bit higher, so popping a spacer or 2 underneath the base bar is a good thing. Also nice to have the base bar a little bit higher when you're climbing and you're descending. It's much more comfortable, and you have access to the brakes, of course, particularly when you're going downhill. So I see that as a good thing, from an aerodynamic perspective. Obviously it's not integrated at the front, you can't hide the cables, but from my point of view as a fitter, I'm more interested in adjustability rather than how the bike performs in a wind tunnel. And it's you as a rider that create most of the drag, not a cable that's sitting out of the back here. That might account for a watt or two, but the mass of your body creates an awful lot more drag. That's what's going to slow you down. So getting you into the right position and having adjustability is a key thing. So it's that Wing alloy base bar, and then we've got a set of alloy extensions. These are T4. The new equivalent of that in the Profile Design range is the 35 degree extensions. I generally use 50s and 45/25s, but with this clamping system you can actually change the angle of that extension, and that's generally what I would do. The thing, I'm not a big fan of the armrests that they've chosen to use. These are the F40 alloy pads. I would swap those out and put on a set of Sonic Ergo pads from Profile Design. I just find that these pads, there's nothing really wrong with them. They're extremely big, and people aren't sure where to put their elbow. You don't feel locked in with those pads because the surface area is so great. I don't like really small pads, but I think these are exceptionally large, and I have, in the last few fits I've done, swapped those pads out, and the riders have commented, or my clients have commented, that they've been a lot more comfortable. So traveling with this bike is easy. It's easy to break down and pack away, because you can just undo the stem and put this into a bike box. And again, you know, the front end here is alloy. Obviously you could upgrade that at a later date, but generally a little bit tougher when you're traveling. If anything does get broken, finding spare parts for this bike in a short period of time would be no problem at all. Okay, so the bike is standard with Di2. You'll generally find that you have shifters, so obviously shifters at the end of the extensions. I'm not sure whether they're a single button or a two button. Ultegra Di2 suggests to me that that's a 2-button shifter at the end of the extension, and you'll have shifters on the base bar as well. So Ultegra Di2, it also comes standard with a 5339 chainring or chainring set. Now that to me is that's for triathlon and time trialing. So I actually ride a little bit smaller now. I went from a 5442 down to, I'm riding a 5236 now. I'm getting on, and I just find I don't have the strength to push the bigger gears, or the same amount of strength I used to have. But that's a 5339 chainring. So out of the box, designed for triathlon and time trials. Now, there's some things that I'm not a huge fan of, and really they're kind of design things and a bit of stuff around I think the BMC website. So if you go onto their website and you have a look at this bike, you'll find dozens of images of bikes, and only one of those images is of the bike that you are going to get for your money. So if the BMC Timemachine 021, this is it. You know, I'm making this video on the 26th of May 2020, and what you see here is what you're going to get. But if you go onto their website, you'll see other models of the BMC Timemachine with the V cockpit, which is a different model altogether. You'll see others with, you know, various 3T Aero Bars, and it's really confusing. You know, I would, if BMC are listening, probably not, but I would definitely do something about about the web page, because you know, people don't know what they're getting for their money. That's number one. The second thing is the sizing on this bike is absolutely key. You have to, really seriously, you must, I think, talk to a professional fitter or someone that's very experienced with this bike before you go out and buy it. There are 4 sizes, okay, but the sizes are weird. So they've got what they call a small, and the small for me is the equivalent, and I'll reference Cervelo because they're so widely used in triathlon and time trial. So their small frame to me is not dissimilar to a 48 centimeter P3. Okay, it's a similar stack, a little bit longer in the reach. Okay, the large is not dissimilar to a 58. So that's a huge gap from a 48 to a 58. And then in the middle, they've got 2 medium models, and the mediums, they have exactly the same frame stack, and the frame stack in a Cervelo would sit between a 51 and a 54, but the reach on the medium small, the reach is like a 45 centimeter Cervelo P3. They used to make these with 650C wheels, and the medium large or medium long, whichever it is, sits somewhere between a 54 and a 56. So that medium small for me is, I'm not sure who that suits, that rider. I'm sure it suits some riders. And the thing is, if you buy the wrong size frame, and I've highlighted here with this storage box. So I've had riders come in before, they're on the bike and it's too short. They should have bought the medium long, they're on the medium small. What you've got to do is you've got to move the seat post back. Okay, and you can do that, but when you move the seat post back, you lose the storage box. So you know, you've got to get the sizing right up front. And the other thing is, when you're on a small bike and you move the seat post back, what can often happen is that you end up closing off the hip angle of the rider. So you may need to put spacers underneath the Aero Bars and that sort of stuff. So please, if you are going to buy a BMC, and as I said, I do like the bike, and particularly if you're going to do triathlon and UCI sanctioned time trials, it's a really good fit. Make sure that you consult with somebody that knows what they're doing before you place an order for the bike, so that you get the right size. Okay, well, I think that's about all for the BMC. I hope you found that beneficial. Please leave some comments below, any questions. Happy to answer those for you, and I'll look forward to doing another review for you in the near future. Thank you.